Welcome to Mother's Narrative Network. Before we begin, please like and subscribe for more daily uploads. Hope you enjoy today's video. Cheeky Ducker parked on my driveway. Cheeky Ducker, aka CF, has now been parked on my driveway for at least 3 hours. Husband home soon and won't be able to park. My question is, what can you actually practically do about this, apart from giving them an earful if you spot them returning to their car? A quick Google says the police won't do anything. They might if it's stopping you getting off your drive, but not if they are preventing you accessing your drive. My area's police website says, try contacting the council. The council's website clearly states they will not remove vehicles or issue parking charge notices for private drives. Also, you are not allowed to block them in, as this is an offense to stop them leaving, and obviously you cannot damage their car, as this would be criminal damage. Assuming you don't want to break the law, what are you meant to legally do if someone parks on your drive? Has anyone successfully got any type of justice against a CF? Or can I now just go around being a CF, never paying for parking, and just using other people's drives? Go and ask them to move it. Nicely though, yeah. I'd block them in. Paste a note on with Vaseline, I think that's what people recommend, or write with lipstick saying private drive, do not park here. I'd park across the end of my drive. It's not blocking them in if you leave a note on the windscreen letting them know where you are. They can come and knock when they want to leave. I would ask, but no idea where they are. We are quite close to the town, so probably gone for a day out. Post a photo of the car on your local next door or Facebook group asking whose car it is. Name and shame. You can block them in. At least you get to give them an earful when they knock on your door asking you to move. It is against the law to block them in after you have been asked. If they have parked on your drive, then it's not as if they don't know who's blocking them in. Have you tried knocking on neighbors' doors to see who it belongs to? If you can't find them, then I'd block them in and then say you can't move your car because you've had a drink. Maybe also write, I cannot be responsible for the safety of your vehicle while it is parked without permission on my property. Personally, I'd let husband block them in. They'll have no choice but to knock on the door, giving you the opportunity to give them a jolly good scolding. I'd park so they couldn't just move it, they had to come to the house. Whether you've got drive gates you can lock, or just use your car to block the exit. What are they gonna do? Ring the police? No, they gonna knock on your door. I'd then say, sorry, I've been drinking, can't move the car. You'll just have to leave it there till tomorrow now. Shame, shame that's happened to you, cheeky 4. Block them in with your DHS car, and then sadly you can't drive, and he's had a bad day, so downed a treble whiskey as soon as he walked in the door, so the car's blocked and it can't move until tomorrow AM, so sad. It's the only way people who do things like this learn it's not okay or not to. We did this, nicely, to a neighbor. They never parked on our drive again. How obvious is it that it's your drive? Could it be a genuine mistake, or definitely people being cheeky duckers? I'd roll the car off the drive into the road. Mumsnet rules are as follows: you must update, you must block them, and you must run and hide when they knock for you to let them out. Get someone else to block them in by parking across the entrance. Then you can say, sorry mate, someone just parked and left. There's a lot of it about. If you can have a glass of something alcoholic in your hand when you answer the door, even better. Also, has your DH told someone they could park there? I listened to a podcast once where this happened to a guy, and he was so annoyed he let their tires down. But when his wife got home, she told him it was a mate, and she had said it was fine, so he had to help fix it. Get it towed. I had a car towed off my drive. Mind you, it had been there for 3 days and nobody came for it and nobody else would help. Funnily enough, when it was towed, the owner turned up again. Oh well. Sorry, not sorry. As they have taken your drive, which is surely illegal, park across your driveway, which will unfortunately block them in. That unfortunate circumstance is a direct result of their total inconsideration to you and your husband. Simple explanation: if they complain, you had nowhere else to park. If they come back before your husband and you have a word before they drive away, that is probably what they would have the cheek to say to you: there was nowhere else to park. I can never understand why it is the cheeky people who do this can be totally outraged when they themselves find themselves blocked in. What goes around comes around, and in truth it is they who have sent this particular inconvenience around, not you. When your husband gets home, he should park them in, ideally so that is not directly in front of them, but so that they cannot get out. Bonnet up, hazard lights on. Then invite your husband in to wait for breakdown services, leaving CF to wander the streets, or call a taxi to get home. After a few hours, go out and move your car. Even better if CF is watching. Lock them in. When they knock, oh dear, you've had a drink and won't be safe to drive for another 2 hours. You'll move it then. Trim your hedges. Preferably sappy ones. Amazing how much hedge falls on your drive, which their car just happens to be parked on. Oh dear, didn't they know about the mad local lady who chucks dog poo at people's cars? Bad luck. If you are in Scotland, it's legal to put a wheel clamp on a car parked on your land. Unless you already possess said wheel clamp, though that's not very helpful. Need a diagram for a parking thread. Block them, then when they knock, hang head out of upstairs window saying you are on an important Zoom call, then promptly close window. Let them sweat for a bit. Oh. Either put yourself on driveway parking spaces app. Or just put a sign out in your window saying £20 to park all day. Make them pay. You can also put some stones in front of all their wheels so they can't just roll off without paying their bill. My answer to this was always block them in, until I blocked them in and a hugely aggressive woman pushed past me into my house and refused to leave, and refused to believe that the car keys weren't on me. They weren't. It went on for over an hour. I'd still say block them in, but be prepared for the CF to be Twitty McTwitterson. I'd have called the police if a stranger barged into my house. She was in the wrong. She should wait outside until she can have her car back. I did. The police noted my concerns, but didn't turn up until 5 hours later. Basically, the woman and her leery friend had been attending a funeral at a church nearby. When the police proved useless, I rang the vicar, who came out to placate her, and one of his staff maneuvered her car along the pavement and out of my life. She was entirely and completely unapologetic. Adamant that she'd already apologized to me, she hadn't, and that there were racial overtones to my asking her to apologize in any event there weren't. It was quite something. Basically, twit's gonna twit. Looks like a good day to clean your gutters and mow the front lawn. Shame if any mud or debris ended on your seemingly empty driveway. We really need a diagram. Where is the diagram? For trolley jacks, pick the car up, move it somewhere where they'll get a ticket. Or, talk to them, be polite, and you may find your driveway was sold by an unscrupulous online parking service, and you can ask them who in order to stop it happening again. Or, even come to an arrangement and make some money yourself. Someone did this to me recently. It's a huge driveway, and I think they thought it was for other homes as well. I just parked in the middle of it so they couldn't get out. They rang the bell after a short time, 10 minutes or so of me parking. I answered the door, eventually. Then told them I was busy and couldn't move car right now. Told them to just wait. I'd try within the hour. I left it as long as I could stand. Probs only 15 minutes and then went out and moved it. Go for a walk with a plastic bag. Collect as many dog shoes within a 15-minute walk as you can find. Return home and deposit shoes all over offending car windscreen and door handles. Extra point for smearing into air vents. Everyone wins. You get to make a point without any proof it was you. The neighborhood gets a load of dog shit removed and the car owner learns not to dump his car on someone's drive. Pressure wash your drive, flower pots, bikes, etc. It makes a really mess of any cars nearby. The passive-aggressive thing to do here is to scatter bird feed over the car, so that it gets bird poo all over it. The only foolproof thing you can do to stop people parking on your drive is to get a gate that locks. There are loads that can be opened remotely. Obviously that's expensive, but it depends on how annoying it is to you to have someone parking on your property. I'd phone 101 anyway in case the car is stolen or no MOT, a tax, etc. Then write out a bill. Parking in my driveway £XX per day, or part of day. Or £XX per hour. Put it on their windscreen. I'd block them in, then claim to have had a drink when they knock. But I'd accidentally drop a nail by their wheel as well, so when they reverse they have a nice, hopefully slow puncture. Surprised that they need to get fixed. We live on an equestrian property, and I have had people park on my driveway, blocking all access in and out and even on my yard. Sometimes, they even stay with their cars and have a little picnic. I always lock the gates if they refuse to move. We have large animals moving to and from paddocks. I need to lock up for health and safety reasons. Once, I even had some picnickers open the gate to my horse's corral, park up in it with the ponies in it and refuse to leave. They moved fast enough when my dopey geldings started to chew on their windscreen wipers. Funnily enough, no one has done it for a while. As PP have said, block them in with a note and make them wait. People like this don't care if they put you out, but they really care when you do it to them. For everyone saying block them in, unfortunately I can't. Without stopping the neighbors getting into their spaces, or blocking the road. Hope diagram helps. I've put note on window, cones either end of car, just to cause them a bit bother when they do want to move. I'm loving all the ideas. Very funny. I'm just genuinely perplexed as what, without breaking the law, you're meant to do. If the police and council won't do anything, I don't see why I ever need to pay for a parking space again. I'll just use other people's drives. One of my neighbors posted a "OMG, this car has been abandoned on my drive. I really hope whoever has had the emergency is okay" type post on our local Facebook group when someone parked on her drive. It took 6 messages for the owner to be identified and a further 3 for his mum to be tagged. He got a public bull locking from his mum and had never, as far as I know, parked on anyone's drive again. Would only work somewhere with a small neighborhood, a really good gossip, a nosy network. This is a brilliant idea. Knock up some fake car park signs with the corresponding effing ridiculous hourly charges. Might be more convincing if you get DH to stand out there in a beanie and high vis, looking a bit bored. I'd say it's pretty clear they're out spaces. We've lived here 6 years and no one else has ever parked there, well, not that I've seen. They are paved with pebbles or stones, surrounded with a paved border and a hedge that goes all the way around the space, green bit on diagram. The stones on the floor are very obviously decorative, and something put in by the owner of the house, nothing like what you'd get on a public road. Wrap it in cling film. Raid the recycling for some tin cans. Tie to the rear bumper or tow point and put a "just divorced" sign on the back. Get the chalk pens out and write "honk it's my birthday" on the back. Are your neighbors home? They could park really close either end of the car. Failing that, a honk if you wanna see, insert obscenity, or "I'm a twit who will park where the duck I like" sign on the boot, away from the window. You have my sympathy. I've got someone parked across my drive, complete with dropped curb and single yellow lines, as I type. Is it illegal to accidentally drop drawing pins in your own driveway? Whistles innocently. There was a thread a few months ago, I think, of a bloke who did just that, to a family who live in the country. The householder did lock the gate, I think. There was then a standoff for a day, or so until the coward sent his wife round to ask for the car. So some people are willing to do just that. Unbelievably cheeky. I'm fascinated by the mentality of people who will quite knowingly park on someone's private drive. How do they have the brass neck? We're moving house, and one of the houses we viewed was a gorgeous listed townhouse in a popular riverside town. It had 2 parking spaces with private parking painted in 3-foot letters in each space. Parking is a big issue for me when considering a property, and I told the owner this as we looked around. I glanced out of the window and a car was pulling into one of the spaces. I mentioned they'd got visitors and the owner looked and said no, they weren't expecting anyone. A rough-looking bloke got out of the car, and the owner called from the window that it was private parking. He just said, "Don't worry, I won't be long," and walked off. In that moment I knew I couldn't live there, and the owner looked defeated. She knew it was a deal breaker for me. I felt so sorry for her, but I had a feeling this wasn't a one-off and I just couldn't be doing with it. I'd put some chocolate spread under the driver door handle so they panic and think it's poo. Once the car is on your property, it is a civil matter, and you are responsible for any damage to it whilst it is on your property. What do you expect people to do when it happens? I just did a quick Google and found loads of stories of people doing it. Buy some spike strips that the police use to stop cars. Chain it to your driveway behind their car. Your driveway, you can do what you like. If they choose to reverse over it, their problem. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Before you go, please like, comment, and subscribe for more daily uploads. Welcome to Mother's Narrative Network. Before we begin, please like and subscribe for more daily uploads. Hope you enjoy today's video. Nasty Neighbour. Hi everyone. Apologies for sounding a bit upset on such a lovely day, but I was wondering how you have dealt the deal with particularly nasty neighbors. We live in a semi-detached, and the neighbors we are attached to are fabulous. In fact, everyone else on the street is fabulous, apart from our neighbor. Every time we are in the garden, they make fun and make comments. They are husband and wife in their late 60s, retired, so I'm beginning to think they're just bored. The wife likes to have loud music on her car while cleaning it, very loud, to the point where cups and containers vibrate into each other, but as soon as we make any noise, lawn mowing, kids playing all in reasonable hours, she moans. The husband has even got a pair of secateurs, and carved a smiley face into one his trees facing our garden, and at point she had plastic skeletons, maybe left over from Halloween, but all year round, until the strong winds blew them apart, up on trees facing our garden with fingers adjusted to the V sign. I mean, who would carve things into trees that made no sense? We are trying to ignore it. We even grew the hedge taller, planted some more in the back garden and kept them tall. We even tinted our windows, because she loved to look inside them. She is also a fan of standing on the edge her drive with her arms folded, just watching us drive away. Anyone else have these sorts or similar things happen? How did you get through it? Please give me some advice. Anything. Thank you for reading this. Am I right in thinking that your garden is next to theirs, the other side from the fabulous neighbors you are joined to? What about the neighbor on the other side of them? Do they have problems? I do know that falling out with neighbors just leads to more stress. You need to block off your view of their garden somehow, with a very tall hedge or bushes. We got someone to design a 9-foot-high lattice arbor with bench seating at the foot to give us more privacy. As long as it is technically movable, you are not breaking the law. As for standing with her arms folded watching you drive off, don't rise to it. Give her a cheery royal wave, and she will cease to take any joy in it. Rejoice in the rest of your lovely neighbors and enjoy their company. There will always be one fly in the ointment wherever you live. Thank you for your reply. We have grown hedges in back and front, we dread trimming them as she will stand and watch us. I don't know what she's expecting us to do. It seems as though she wants us to react to her all the time, and I don't know whether it's a hormone imbalance or something. I know people are not born this way, and I know if a relative of mine behaved this way I would be concerned, but her family seem to think it's fine. I know it's hard, but try not to let her take over your lives. She is obviously bored and nosy, but they are not criminal offenses. Have you tried smiling and asking her if there is anything you can do to help each time she seems to be staring at you? Yes. I did ask, what have we done to upset you? She blamed her husband about something, then that was it. You're absolutely right. They're not criminal offenses, but I do wonder if they border on harassment. Seems to be bullying in nature, especially with the name calling, laughing and obsessive staring. Inches away from us when doing gardening, it's like stalking sometimes. I just wish they would ignore us, let us get on with our lives, and get on with theirs, live peacefully. I just don't know anymore. Sometimes feel targeted. Their neighbors on the other side of her, she adores them. Even to point of going onto their property, and trimming the hedge for them. But, myself and a lady across the road she seems to hate. Apart from us and lady across the road there doesn't seem to be anyone else in the firing line. The lady across the road, who I chat to, says she just ignores it. There's only so far you can push a person though, especially when in close quarters. Sometimes I wonder, if I understood why they do it, I could accept it and manage it better. I just don't know, it's horrible. Well, I agree that the best advice is to ignore it. But they sound very odd to me, definitely not normal behavior, very juvenile. How can people be so childish? What do they gain from this type of behavior? Could you have a word with her adjoining neighbor, who you say she adores, to try to work out why she is behaving like this towards you? I am not sure whether there is anything legal you could do about this, but it may be worthwhile taking photos or recording if you can. If you do decide to pursue this with the police, you will at least have evidence. As the other posters said, I would just wave at her when she is standing on the drive when you are going out. When she is inches away, when you are gardening, maybe try making trivial conversation with her, e.g. lovely day for gardening, etc. What could she do? Walk away, or speak back to you? Maybe she likes to feel like she is intimidating you. The more you show that she is, the worse she will be. If you are in the UK, and in a rented council, or LHA property, they usually have an antisocial behaviour department, where you can report these things. As your neighbour won't tell you why she is behaving like this, ignoring the childish behaviour is all you can do. If she isn't getting a reaction from you, it will spoil her fun. Wear headphones in the garden, and her snide comments will fall on deaf ears. When she is watching you drive out, wind your window down, smile and say lovely day. If she replies nastily, just laugh. People hate to be laughed at. Put up the highest fencing you can afford or are allowed, so you cannot see them and they cannot see you. She cannot clean her car every day, and they cannot object to your mowing your lawn. If she watches you leave with her arms folded, so what? Their behavior is distinctly odd, but I doubt it would amount to harassment. It sounds as though they are slightly on the spectrum, as is my next door neighbor, who irritates me intensely, but has done nothing wrong. She is simply only concerned with herself and has no awareness of anyone else's feelings, including her family, apart from her own. Thank you so much for all your replies. Love the headphone idea. I will try that out. Sometimes I feel so alone with it, even though the lady across the road is another one she hates. I agree with the behavior being odd also. I don't know how her family and children can think it's okay. Especially with the tree carvings, skeletons and all other things we have had in the past. I asked her once why she keeps staring. She told me to grow up. We had our bins emptied yesterday, so we filled it with recycling. As the bin was empty, it would echo more than usual putting things in. She must have heard us and shouting, "Oh yes. Bang 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 ha 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 ha" at us. By their actions, they are obviously hoping to get a reaction from you. Don't respond in any way. If you feel they are watching you, just carry on. If they yell out, ignore them, don't reply. They will hopefully get bored. I have seen something that you might like to buy to put in your garden facing them, an ornament of a monkey, one hand up, with the middle finger raised. We had horrid neighbors. When we moved we had a few nasty rows with them, but decided it's best to ignore them. I admit it really did stress me out. At the time he especially was a bully. If you retaliate, it will just fuel their stupid mentality, and make you more anxious. They are not worth it. You said she moans if there is any activity in your garden. Who does she moan to? Or is it just her husband? Ignore them as you do when you have to listen to the noise they make. Do not allow them to ruin your day going about your business. Definitely don't cut the trees. We put up 2 sheds at the bottom of the garden to block our nasty neighbors out completely. We also had security cameras installed and passive lights too. I would welcome your other neighbors in your garden for drinks. This may be an opportunity for your good neighbors to actually witness how bad they are. It's a good idea to have someone on your side and support you if needed. I hope you find some good advice here and it's helpful. Oh, I'm loving the replies, thank you all. Having almost losing loved ones with COVID made me realize how short life is. Thank you all XXX. I had a neighbor just like her. Other neighbors thought she had a mild form of dementia, or possibly a personality disorder. She felt compelled to monitor the whole street, carefully watching anyone outside and commenting. I, too, built an arbor, as garden buildings can be 2.5 meters tall in the UK, whereas fences can only be 2 meters. I made a huge effort to be outwardly friendly and cheerful at all times. To avoid any interaction, I'd appear to be busy, just smile and wave, while wearing headphones. No, I wasn't listening to music, just pretending to. If she insisted on talking, I'd cut it short, saying I'm cooking, must go in and check, or my daughter's phoning soon, or I'm just on my way out, etc. Any excuse, in fact. I think she was very bored and or jealous, and trying to provoke a reaction with her petty complaints. I'd still smile and just say it's fine, it's okay. Just a bit of noise while I mow the lawn, nothing to worry about. So be dismissive in a happy sort of way. As you say, everybody else around you is lovely. Had you thought of taking a deep breath and trying a charm offensive? Wave back at the Andy Cap's wife lookalike watching you drive away. Invite some other neighbors round and include this couple. Clean out your car at the same time and ask what radio station she has on so that you can have stereo music while you work, all with a smile firmly pinned on, of course. Maybe they do have a twisted sense of humor, but it might be less strain on your blood pressure. Good luck. I agree it's not normal, but no one else seems to comment on it. The loud music, for instance, which is fine, but she insists on singing along to it so loudly, and then she will answer the radio presenter in between songs. 4E.G. The presenter will announce the weather report, and she will answer, "Oh yes, another nice day, how wonderful," then announce the next song, "Oh yes, this is great," and when that song is finished, "That was beautiful." It's very odd, but no one else seems to notice, and we take the brunt of it. Especially when they have an argument, and they like their colorful language, it gets worse. All this is from the wife, although someone did tell me the husband did carve the smiley face into the tree. Apparently, top reason for moving home is neighbors from hell. But there is a nasty one wherever you go. Surveillance cameras would be good, as I feel they are envious of you in some way. She sounds like a lonely woman with too much time on her hands. So you are fair game. Invite more people around. Family and friends. She might quieten down when faced with more people around you. Bullies can only operate in secrecy. Once they are outed, they are less likely to strike. Be brave and turn to friends and family. A busy mind will remove her antics from your mind. Regain control over your thoughts and be less stressed. She has no power over you. Thank you so much for all the replies, truly grateful for your time. As I am typing this out, she has her grandchildren over playing in the garden, and yet, because she heard us put things in the bin yesterday, she is banging away throwing things as loud as she can. I feel sorry for H. If finances permit, maybe think of employing someone to trim the hedge etc. to save you the stress. I'm all for damage limitation in a case like this. Anok, yes, I did have a gardener for a while as I injured my shoulder. I may call him again. Thank you for that good idea XX. I think rising to the bait will just make things worse. Ignore them when you can, but a cheery wave when they're staring at you, or as you drive off, will likely irritate the crap out of them, because it sends a message that you're not bothered by it. And if you're not bothered, they're not getting any fun out of it, so hopefully it will fizzle out. In the meantime, I would do as others have suggested, put up fencing as high as possible, if you can, and screen with hedges at the front. I would also invest in CCTV cameras, just for security. It sounds as though there's a bit of a mental health issue somewhere along the line, so maybe try to de-escalate wherever you can. What a couple of sickos. In any other context you would feel sorry for them, but when it affects you like that, it is no joke. I wouldn't retaliate, because that would feed their lunacy. I think a nice little summer house blocking their view might be good, or a small arbor, covered with climbing plants, fast-growing, directly facing away from them. Lattice at the top of the fence is cheap, and you could grow climbers up it, or a nice prickly rose. There was a time I felt sympathetic. There are days where it's more intense than others. It's a lot of swings and roundabouts. We have planted tall hedgerows, and let our side of the front hedge grow tall. We tinted our windows so no one can see in, but we can see out. We were looking at something on my daughter's phone, a GIF I think it was, no sounds, just animation, and laughing at it. She called us childish B and $/#DS, because she thought we were laughing at her. It's like you can't do anything. Yes, we installed CCTV front and back, as she got the hosepipe to out windows at the front one day. We endured horrendous neighbors for 25 years. It made me ill and a nervous wreck. Stamping up and down the stairs, playing loud music, rude comments, etc. They were intimidating to our visitors, so I never invited anyone round. She used to watch me like a hawk, and I could feel her eyes on me all the time, so I never went in the garden. Eventually I returned to work part-time, but worried all the time what was happening at home, as there were occasions when they came into our garden to cut the hedge that did not need cutting. They also painted the fence that did not need painting. You do not mention your DH. Does this affect him as much, and how does he deal with it? My DH did not see or hear so much as he was at work all day, but I do think he could have been more supportive and sympathetic. Looking back, they were better when he was at home, probably to make me look as though I was exaggerating the problems. I feel really sorry for you. A higher fence helped us slightly, but it did take over our lives. In the end we had to move. Finding Nemo 15, this exactly is what we are experiencing. My DH used to work full-time in an office, and would not see any of it until the weekends. She would carry on, or even more so then. It's only since COVID that he's forced to work from home that he has seen it all. He used to shake his head at it, far more patience than I. Now he's at home, he gets angry and frustrated and wants to move. I agree, I do too, but I travel to and from my mother's house where I care for her. Again, this is something she knows as she has driven past and seen my car there. There are days where I can ignore, like you could, and you feel strong. But yesterday and today, just feels awful. My DH feels the same, and I think when you both feel it, it's magnified in your house. Our son has autism. Again, this is something she knows as she used to work as a lunchtime supervisor at a school. This is not a deterrent either. I think we have to move, which is a shame. I don't want to be pushed out though. I want it to go on our terms. I just wish I knew what it was that's annoying them. Maybe we can fix it and carry on with our lives. Just a word of warning, I believe if you are thinking of selling, these days you have to reveal any disputed with your neighbors in writing. Perhaps someone else can advise. Not a problem if you're renting. Is the couple next door renting? If so, you could talk to the landlord. I was told if you have a dispute with a neighbor and the police get involved, you have to reveal this to an agent when selling the property. If I was misinformed, I think someone will probably advise if this is not correct information. Boo die. My friends thought the reason for her behavior was jealousy. The main thing was I could drive. She couldn't, and before I stopped inviting them round, she saw I had quite a few friends. She didn't. Looking back, she was a total nutcase. The last straw was when she got the neighbor the other side of us to turn against us. It was like living in a cage. Yes, we did ignore them, but as I said earlier, we were driven out mainly for my sanity, so I suppose in the end she won. Thank you so much for your replies. I'm overwhelmed with the responses. Yes, regarding the police, you are obliged to disclose any of their involvement. I think maybe that's why we haven't called them, if I'm honest. This has been going on for 10 years now, just tired of it. You would think after all this time it would stop, but it was hard. There were a few times we would snap, because we were pushed so hard to do so, or she would try to intimidate our children, and I would not have that. When I logged off here yesterday, even though she had a go at us for making a noise throwing empty cans and jars into the bin, she did exactly the same. Even with her grandchildren visiting. It's nice to know that it's not my imagination, as when I say it out loud or type it out like this it sounds made up. I was telling another nan about it one day, at the children's school, and she thought I was pulling her leg. My sister had a neighbor who would comment on her washing as she was hanging it out, the shape or size of her underwear, etc. When my father heard about it, he would pop round regularly, and lie in wait for her to make a remark. She never did. Bullies know when to keep their mouths shut, the same as they know how to choose their victims. Do you have any friends who are in the police force that could pop round for a cup of tea? Any big burly rugby player types? Such a familiar story. My heart goes out to you. We have a similar situation. We try to ignore it, but it is a horrible brooding presence. I have moved house many times and have never encountered neighbors like these. They have cameras everywhere, but swear they are not trained on us. How to prove it? The latest, by watering some new plantings in my garden, I might cause a flood such as they had in Skewen in February. We live in Swansea, so there are probably old coal working underneath. But watering my sweet peas and new rose, planted to block them out a little, I could be flooding the area. I was shouted at, arms waving, followed by a door slam to shake the house. He leaves his lawn sprinkler on for 24 hours, sometimes. But that must be different. I could write a book. I refuse to be cowed, go in my front garden every day to deadhead and tidy. But I really understand what an unpleasant, horrid, depressing constant pressure it is. Try not to let it get you down. My love to you. Welcome to Mother's Narrative Network. Before we begin, please like and subscribe for more daily uploads. Hope you enjoy today's video. Bill Splitter Karma. I wanted to share this as often read stories on here of people getting stung by people insisting on splitting the bill when they've gone all out on cocktails and steak. I went out with work tonight, and don't go often. I was driving, so no drink, but did have a starter, main, and dessert. There is a person who works for the company, but not on my team, who often hears about meals out and adds himself on. No one ever stops him. He does get on with some of the men on my team, so all good, but he does go for the steak, wine, sides etc., and insists on splitting, and folks are too scared to challenge him for some reason. Now, as his not on my team WhatsApp group, so I put it out there on the chat, I wouldn't be splitting, just paying for my own. A few added that they'd much prefer to do that, and a few of the newer staff are on a lower wage. No one updated the other man, why would they? So out we went, all ordered. Some preferred one course with water, others the same as me. Some shared wine. He ordered, I made a note as it was crazy, bread and oil. A starter. Bottle of Rioja. Main, steak and chicken. 2 sides. Dessert. 2 pints. Now, I'm all for going for it, fill your boots, but pay for it. The bill came, he said, usual is it? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, spilt like always. I took so much delight in telling him that we had all decided to pay for our own, times are hard, and we have junior members etc. Oh, the face. He said he would never have ordered what he did if he knew we weren't splitting, and I took great delight in saying, you wouldn't have ordered what you did if you knew you'd have to pay for it all yourself. Didn't you see some had 1 meal and a glass of water? As we paid the bill, I also made sure that they took our payments before his, so he couldn't wangle. He was so red, he paid and left without saying a word. I can't believe the cheek of some people. Hope it will make him think twice. I understand friends splitting bills, but why would he assume colleagues from other teams would want to pay for his dinner? I wanted to share the little win. When I was a junior, I wouldn't have stood up to him either, but menopause does things to a woman. Ducking hell, the entitlement on him to actually admit he hadn't intended to pay for his own food. Well done for speaking up. Genius. And he shall forevermore be known as Freeloader Fred, honestly, such a CF. Well done, OP. His bill was £83 or thereabouts. Someone else's was £25, and he just didn't get it. He said, but we always split. I just said, do we? I don't come often, but I know my team don't want to, and watched as he got redder. That could have been the wine though. I'm actually surprised he got all that good food for only £83. Where on earth did he put it all? That's a huge amount of food. How long was the dinner? Hopefully it was 2 to 3 hours long, or my guts would have been in pain trying to pack it all in. Also, did he tip? I have a feeling he didn't. This is one of the most satisfying things I have ever read on Mumsnet. Brilliant job at pay for your own dinner. I love that you'd pre-arranged payment on WhatsApp with your team, but love even more that you didn't warn the cheeky ducker, so that his duckery was publicly exposed. You will be an absolute hero to the junior, lower-paid colleagues and to all the women who are fed up of entitled men. This story will become a legendary workplace anecdote that will be told and retold for years to come. When I was younger, one couple would always join the group of friends for meals, order their meals, and before dessert was ordered would always leave some money on the table, never close to what they had ordered, and leave early. Met up with the friend group recently after a good few years, and they still do the same thing. Always short by a fair amount, usually for drinks. A couple of the group are struggling, not them, and got annoyed about it. Brilliant. Let's hope he's learned his lesson and never again walks all over the people who've had a pizza and water, but ended up paying towards his blowout. Many times people have ordered less because they need to stick to a budget. So it's especially galling to end up blowing the budget and not even enjoy a more lavish meal themselves that they've shelled out for. Re the chicken and steak. It was a meat feast type thing. I don't eat meat, so not my thing at all. And yes, £83 is cheap considering, but it's a Hungry Horse type place by our office, so not posh, but still decent and big portions. I've decided to go to the office today, hence being up at silly hour. Oh, it was definitely an accidental blurt. He was shocked. think he wanted everyone to pay around £45 mark. Can you imagine? One person's was £23. I don't see him in the office much, so not sure. I'll ask around today. He downed 1 pint whilst we were looking at the menu. It seems like I was stalking him, but I was genuinely keeping my eye on him to see what he was eating and drinking, as I knew he'd want to split. He went for it. I still feel full from my courses, and I paid £34. I think his wine was about £20 alone. The younger me definitely would have put up with this bull, and it makes me quite sad to think so. So I hope I've inspired a few not to anymore. I used to work in a foodie pub. We had a party of 8 booked for dinner. They had a good time, lots to eat and drink. Organizer asked for the bill, which was around £300, or £37.50 each. He suggested everyone paid £42 to include service, and all agreed. They paid and left in dribs and drabs until the last man came to pay at the till. He asked how much was left on the bill, and was told everyone was paying £42. He asked again how much was left owing on the table, and it was approx £6, which he paid and left. So his meal was mostly paid for by the staff's tips, £34. We debated whether or not to phone the organizer next day, and let him know what had happened. We didn't, but now I wish we had. Just pulled up in car park. No one has said anything on work WhatsApp group since before the meal, but I'll see who is in now. At Bulkapeepants there was a yes, we agreed on our WhatsApp group, we weren't splitting, but mostly people just watched. Brava. Well played. And it wouldn't have worked if you'd given him a heads up in advance. He'd have just eaten lightly this time, and gone back to his scathing. Well done for protecting your junior team. My husband's brother is like this, and has previously taken a tip that we left off the table. When my niece was small, he'd find a young waitress, less likely to argue, and say, "Can you just put a bit of potato on a plate for the baby? Can you just put a little bit of chicken for the baby? Can you just put a little bit of gravy for the baby? Can you put a bit of ice cream in a cup for the baby?" until he'd got a whole kid's meal for nothing. Excruciating. The baby was about 6 years old by this point. One of my team who was there last night has smiled, said morning, and then tightwad, not his real name, is working from home today, he can't afford the commute in, then laughed and walked off. Made me chuckle. He is his mate as well, but not as tight, clearly. It's quiet so far, but should fill up after 9. One of his sides was sweet potato fries, not sure on the other, and I had bruschetta, veggie lasagna and eaten mess. Nice. He's officially working from home today. One of the juniors just bought me a hot chocolate. Nothing was said, she just put it on my desk. Going out with other teams, and asking others, it's worked well in the past as we have sometimes poached from other teams that way. Cheeky, but works for us. Well done, Op. I wonder if he will do that again, or just order a modest amount next time. I remember going out for a meal with a large group, and 4 of us had to sit on a separate table, as there wasn't enough room on the main table. When the bill came, there were several bottles of champagne on there which we were not even offered to share, but expected to pay for. One of our group did have a word. It does actually put me off going out in a group tbh, as this type of thing happens too much. Well done indeed. I've experienced this and very early on learnt to make it clear from the start that I am not there to fund others' lifestyles and choices. On the flip side, I have family members that order little, then mop up others' extra side orders and think they only have to pay for what they ordered, even though they benefited big time from extras. Stopped this behavior too and said, "You ate it, you pay for it," which wasn't popular, but I am not here to lead a popularity contest anymore. This post is a great example to follow, of setting the rules from the get-go. Love this. In my very first job, when I had very little money, I went out with my manager and some colleagues. I had a garlic bread for my main course. And water. Because I barely had anything and they split the bill. I didn't even know that was a thing then. I look back and it was really awful that my manager and older senior colleagues didn't pick on it. I ended up having to borrow from my mum for the month. It was a humiliating experience, and it has lived with me, and I try to arrange things that people can join in now. So I applaud this. Hooray. Update. I wasn't expecting this at all, but TW, Tightwad, has sent me a message on Teams. I didn't appreciate being put on the spot last night. I won't be doing that again. What? Now normally I'd ignore, but since you're all involved, what shall I say? Also aware it's over Teams, so a work platform. Say hi Tightwad. So good to know that you won't be taking advantage again. Thanks for letting me know. I will pass it on to the others there. I would respond calmly with something along the lines of, it was not my intention to embarrass you. However, it had been agreed in advance through my team that we would not be splitting the bill, and it is not for others to be subsidizing other team members, and leave it at that. He wants you to put something he can use against you. I'd go the confused route. This is an odd message. I don't understand how you were put on the spot. We went out for a team meal and you chose to tag along, which is great, but we were all paying for our own meals. I'm not sure where the problem is. Did you think people ordering a single course and water should pay for your multiple dishes? You won't be doing what again? And see what his response is. It's unclear if he means joining team dinners that he's not invited to, or expecting others to subsidize his meal. I'd want to see if he acknowledges he's a CF. We are local government, so none of us on mega bucks, but I think he's on about £55, which is a lot more than £25, which is what the junior staff are on. I would be telling the ducker straight. You ordered 83 quid's worth of food, knowing that less senior colleagues earning about half your salary are ordering in line with their own tight budget, and yet you tight are said busted think it appropriate for these colleagues to subsidize your greed. I'm glad you won't be doing it again, as you will not be invited to join us again. You tight are said greedy freeloading busted. As it's a work platform, I'd reply along the lines of, I'm sorry if you felt put on the spot by being asked to pay for what you ordered. As I'm sure you'll appreciate, lots of people are having to be careful with money, so the team had agreed beforehand to just each pay their own bill. That way someone who only budgeted for a main course and water would not have to pay for other people to have starters, side dishes and alcohol. Very factual, and does not specify that he was the tightwad, but gets the point across. And would not cause you any problems if it was shared with HR. This happened to me and my husband when we were students. We went for a birthday meal. We were both skint, but wanted to attend. We had a main and a Coke. Everyone else was drinking wine and eating several course. Then it was suggested that the bill was split. I had already paid our bill, tip and a bottle of wine for the birthday girl. I said absolutely not. I've paid for our bill, brought a gift and paid for birthday girl's wine. We just left after that. I'm sure they all had a chat about our rudeness after. Although, the birthday girl wouldn't have been happy we were put in that position, because she knew our financial situation. Ha ha. I'd play dumb. I'm not sure what you're referring to with regards to being put on the spot. Are you saying you didn't appreciate paying for your own dinner last night? I'm not sure why that would be an issue, or who you think would pay for your dinner. Everyone paid for what they ate. What exactly is the problem? We joined friends for a meal a while back and their other friends came too. We knew them a bit, so said okay to split the bill, as was more usual practice then. What I did not know was that the friend was going to have 4 porn star martini cocktails before the meal, and then have 3 large gin and tonics during the meal. Obvs she ordered starter, scallops, always remember that. Main, pud, coffee and none of them were cheaper items. Never went out with the cheeky couple, after that and our dear friends said they always did that. Love the idea of karma on this post. We had a woman like this at work. She's order 3 courses, usually with fillet steak or something similarly expensive. The first couple of times the bill was split, but the rest have got fed up subsidizing her. So the next time, we had a word with the restaurant beforehand, so when it came time to pay, the waitress came back with the order sheet with everybody's total amount at the side. As the OP said, "Oh, the face." Needless to say, she never came out for another meal with us. I would quote his own words back to him in your reply, so that it's on record. I never would have ordered all that if I'd known, and say something like, "I was surprised at your own admission that you intended to significantly financially benefit from splitting the bill, and that this was the reason you ordered such expensive items." As you must know, many of our team are new and therefore on lower salaries. They will have decided what to order based on what they can afford. We are all feeling the pinch at the moment, and it makes far more sense for everyone to pay their own individual bills, as it prevents people having to pay £20 to £30 over and above the actual cost of their meals. I am shocked that you intended to use this lovely team dinner as a way of having a subsidized meal that you had no intention of fully paying for. You should have declared this intention at the start of the night, and then we could have let you know that we had agreed to each pay for our own meals. To be honest, this behavior and mindset is very concerning and not compatible with our team's work ethic. I'd reply, you weren't put on the spot, you simply had to pay for what you had. Whenever you come to these meals, you always order a lot whilst others have far less. My team had been planning this meal for some time and many said in our WhatsApp group, which you aren't privy to, that they would rather pay for themselves, as splitting the bill only works in favor of those that have a lot. You asked to come, it wasn't a compulsory work event. Surely you realize that in these current times, junior members who had a lasagna and a glass of water shouldn't pay for your, wait for it, 2 pints of lager bread, an olive starter steak, and chicken sweet potatoes another side, which escapes me a dessert, a bottle of rioja, and a partridge in a PER tree. Come on, Mike. I won't put you down for our next meal, which is scheduled for May 16th. Or are you happy to come if little 21-year-old Emily in accounts, who is on 18k a year, subsides your pangshang for rioja? OP, you're a shero. Younger me had been caught out so many times by the "let's just split it, it's easier and no one wants to ruin a meal by getting the calculators out" brigade, who are so often dumping their bill into others. Karma, when it happens, is amazing. Years ago a bunch of us were out for a meal, and as we were a large group, the waiting staff split us into pairs. At the end of the meal each pair got a separate bill and drinks were paid for at the bar. But after this had been agreed, someone else turned up with his partner. He proceeded to order the most expensive mains, sides and a whole extra course. When he was presented with his partner's bill at the end for this mountain of food, his jaw dropped. But he had to pay it. It was a sight to behold. Wow, it's blown up. We had a good laugh in our meeting, as well as doing some work. Some of the older fellas more or less said when they go out they split, but he was laughing when he said it, rolling his eyes. I said, that's great for you lot. Go out and fill your boots, but this was a team meal, and why should XXXX pay for his pints, and why should XXXX pay for his wine? He agreed and there was lots of nodding. I did reply. I went with, I don't understand, what spot were you put on TW? Was it agreed the team would pay for part of your meal and drinks before going out? As I wasn't made aware of that, I'll wait for a response. No, has not on our team, but under same company's section, so not included. He just likes going to other team meals. I say the more the merrier, if you pay for yourself. I once went on a work trip, and we were joined by colleagues from another firm, who were also working on the project. These people joined us each night at the local restaurant. The first night one of them forgot his wallet and we all paid for him. The second night, when he forgot it, I said, "Don't worry, we'll wait here while you pop back up to your room and fetch it." He had to do a walk of shame and didn't forget it again. Well done, OP, nothing as awful as a tightwad. No, I won't be speaking to HR, no need, they won't give a sh. I'll fight him in the car park instead. Has read it but no response. Haven't been left on red for a while. We have just decided on Wagamamas for the next team meal. He won't be invited, I'm very lucky I can come in when I want. I have my own desk so no hot desking. I had a crap sleep as well, probably too much food, so decided to come in. I booked tomorrow off though, last minute. I definitely won't be in on Friday. Still no response, so I consider the matter closed. If he does reply, I don't think it warrants a response. We've had a chuckle all day, and a few went down to work canteen for lunch and laughed about him. Knowing what I know of him, I just think he wanted others to pay for his massive dinner. Still no response, and not expecting anything now. My phone battery has almost died from checking. Update, he hasn't replied to me, but one of the men on the team just got off a Teams call with him. He rang me straight away and told me, whilst laughing, he said you made him look tight. The poor man, eh? Ha ha, I'm still laughing. Whatever anyone says is obviously the victim in all this. He was looking for a huge meal and drink for £45, didn't get it, and now the world is against him. I did ask my workmate, wasn't it obvious that if people ordered one course and water or pop then they didn't want to split, and he said, well, he doesn't think like that. I just said good luck when you next go out with him, and then we had a work chat. Update. I was just settled on the sofa rereading some comments that I had missed earlier, and my phone rang. It was my colleague who spoke to Tightwad earlier on Teams. He asked me if I was sitting down and if I wanted a laugh. He said that he had been speaking to Tightwad again, and he said had been thinking all day, and that he wasn't going to take this any further. I cannot believe it, although I suppose I can. He genuinely thinks he's been wronged in some way. So that's probably the last update, as I won't be responding and neither will he, as graciously he won't be taking it any further. Thanks for the comments all. And remember, no splitting bills with work colleagues. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. Before you go, please like, comment, and subscribe for more daily uploads.